Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I will be covering what I think now is the smartest way to acquire clients, grow your business on social media. It's the best social media funnel to actually grow your business, in my opinion. And that's what we're going to covering the whole funnel and how you can implement that as well. So without really wasting much time, what we will cover is how to grow your business using a content acquisition system that works on autopilot with zero time and effort. And when I say zero time and effort, I'll show you how I mean zero time and effort. Once you set it up, or once you have someone like us set it up for you, it's pretty much fully run on autopilot as well. So just to show you that it works, these are one of our clients' results, right? So his name is Justin Lalonde. He owns a paid advertising agency. He works with a lot of big e-commerce brands as well as local businesses. He's also a coach with Iman Ghazi's Educate on the paid ad side as well. That's coming up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And he was averaging around 700 to 800 views per short form content on TikTok, on Instagram, things like that. And I'm not sure if it was even getting any traction inbound with these offers from that. So as soon as we implemented this, we got him 33,000 views in 2 weeks. And it says 5 videos here, but pretty much I think it's updated now, and even like 2 of his videos are up to 30K or something like that, or more than 30K in total would be like 45K, which led to 67 warm leads generated and a 9.4K increased pipeline value within just 2 weeks. Guess how much time he spent recording, editing, doing anything at all? He spent zero, absolutely zero, which is the great part with this. Now let's move on to my account, which had about 180 followers before I did this, and one of my videos got it has 1.7 million right now, with, as you can see, like about 80K real interactions, which is still it's a lot more right now, which led to like a 20-30x follow growth, almost like a 20x follow growth actually. So I'm at like 2.6K followers right now. And those just like numbers, what that did for me, it helped in brand building and social proof. People start seeing me as an authority, trust building, and my inbound attention is actually going crazy right now. That's one of the reasons why I'm recording this video as well, to actually break down what I do fully. And parts down the funnel is really easy. So going further down the funnel towards the trust building, towards actually converting them into clients from leads towards buyers is a lot easier using the funnel that we will actually talk about. So all of this happens because of what I call an autopilot content funnel, and what we specifically call the inflow autopilot content system. So it's just like a fancy term for something which really has a lot of leverage through zero time and effort, and we happen to call it the inflow autopilot content funnel. And basically, I'm going to talk about why you need this in the first place. So we're going to start off from the basics. Basically, building a brand is the biggest, most profitable and easiest form of acquisition / marketing / scaling in today's day and age. And we've all seen that. I mean, if you've not seen that, then I don't know where you've been, but that's the case with all of the big guys, right? When people come to you, the attention, trust, and willingness to transact is a lot more when you go as compared to when you go to people. So as you would have seen with outreach, it's there's a lot of friction with that. But when people actually come in, you always have the upper hand, and that's why I actually want to build a brand that allows people to come in. And even when you're actually going out to people, you have that social proof of a brand, because I'm still doing outreach with all of the social proof that I've gained over here, but the outreach that I'm doing is converting far better. And it's actually crazy it's actually crazy how setting up this whole system that works on autopilot allows for growth in so many different areas that I won't imagine essentially initially, right? So why you want to do this? All of the big guys are doing it. You can see Hormozi, you can see Iman Ghazi. All of these guys are, going all in on their personal brands. There's like thousands of videos talking about that already, so I'm not going to go into it, but you guys have probably already seen it, right? And all of these guys are essentially using a simple 3-step funnel. It's something that everyone uses. It's something that is the core of acquisition, and it starts with attention generation, it goes to trust building, and then it goes to conversions, right? That's the basics of essentially any funnel. And what you want to do is you want to treat this as an actual funnel and mechanism that you use to grow your business. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the funnel you need to implement in your business. That's not what this video is about. That's something that everybody probably already knows. But I'm just setting the context for this, right? So you want to treat this as an actual funnel and mechanism that you use to grow your business, and get the most amount of leverage possible with this to get the best results. Because with business, like, leverage just basically means that the input output ratio is the maximum. Like, you put in X amount of input and you get 10x amount of output, And you want to do that with content as well, because the mistake I see a lot of people make is they treat content as just something separate that they need to do, but they don't realize that that content is and can be, as I mentioned over here, their biggest, most profitable and easiest form of acquisition, marketing or scaling. And by easiest, when I say easiest, it's not easy to do always. But once you set it up, once you get the traction in terms of actually converting people from cold to a buyer to a person you work with or transact with, is going to be the easiest and by far going to be the easiest, right? So how the big guys get leveraged? They have massive teams. They have the biggest of experts on their teams or people that they know that they can consult with, and they have millions of dollars. So Modi said he spent around like $40 million on content with the studios, with the teams, and with everything. Guys like Iman have like such a big in-house team. Tate has his massive team to handle his content, his marketing. And there's a reason why they're spending a lot of their money, a lot of their resources on getting attention, on generating attention, because they know it's a leverage system. They know if they can generate a certain amount of attention by spending a certain amount of money, they can then build that trust and convert that to get a certain amount of money as well. And as long as the numbers add up, it makes perfect sense. So why you want leverage is basically content that you make is equal to the money that you make, essentially, and the time input that you put in is over here. So if you have a non-leveraged content system, then the graph just goes like that, right? You might not even reach here. You might just even be up till here, right? Just maybe even lesser, because it just won't make sense for you to continue. And just won't. You'll post a few pieces of content. The time it will take you will not at all be profitable as compared to the results that you're getting. At least that's what you'll think. That's what most people think, and that's why they kind of just give up and stop doing it. And it just won't make sense for you to put in resources again, because you're not seeing, because with businesses that aren't as big, you don't have that much room to just spend without getting a return back. Like Hormozi can spend $40 million and make that back 3 years later, right? But you probably can't. You probably can't spend like 30K and expect to make it 6 months later, right? So you essentially want to leverage or find leverage based on the situation you are in. And with the leverage content system, you can just go like that, because when the content that you make, or hence the money that you make, is not dependent on the time input, then the leverage that you have is essentially infinite. Because people always talk about, okay, you can hire more to save your time, but it's still a finite resource. They don't get this, that they don't get the fact that even hiring people uses time, and time essentially is a finite resource. And if it's a finite resource, then it's not unlimitedly scalable. But if you have something which is not bound by time, then it's infinitely scalable, and that's when you get curves like that. And if you combine that with talent, then it's empowered even further. So basically, you just want to create leverage wherever you can, and you'll have insane amount of growth, because the time that you put in is not fully dependent on the content or the money that you make. Because with that funnel, the more content that you put out, the more attention that you're getting, the more trust that you're building, the more conversion that you're making. And that's the kind of leverage that we put into the Inflow Autopilot content system as well. And I mean, I'm not telling you to use this specifically. You can use whatever sort of system that you have or that you can put into place, but something that works on autopilot, and something that works. I'm actually going to show you guys how this works as well right now, but I'm just going to go over this first. So basically, you get an inflow of people who want to work with you through attention generated by content that you spend absolutely zero time and effort making. You could essentially be drinking coffee, sleeping, or doing whatever you want, and content that you do not even know about is bringing in hyper qualified, filtered leads to your profile and to your business, to your CRM, whatever sales system that you use. So if you actually think like a business owner, you will realize the massive amounts of leverage and value that a system like this has. Because if you put this into a value equation, you realize this, that it's the results that you get divided by the time and effort. So let's say the results that you get are N. I'm not saying that you're going to get certain results for sure, but let's just say that it's N. You're getting N amount of results. The time and effort that you're putting in is essentially zero. So as long as the results are positive, and with this system, they're going to be a lot higher than just merely positive, the results that you're getting basically are infinity. Like the value that you're getting through the equation is essentially infinity, because anything divided by zero is infinite, right? That is why the biggest guys seem to magically print money out of thin air, because they have the system in place where their time and effort is not directly proportionate towards the content that they're making, and hence the money that they're making, because the content that they're making relates to the attention that they're generating, the trust that they're building, and hence the conversion that they make. So now coming to this, how does all of this even work? It's simple. This is how it works. I'm just going to give it to you straight away. So we use custom animation short form content plus text on screen conversion based CTA content plus DM automation funnel sequences. And I'm going to go over all of this, all of this and how it works. So by custom animation short form content, what I mean is basically, you guys probably would have seen the animation content with the graphs and with all of the fancy stuff and visuals going around. So that's essentially what I'm talking about, but it's being used very basically. So we're going to combine that with a lot of other elements and formats that work. So it's basically divided into kind of two real main sort of types, which I've seen. It's essentially like a new thing. Nobody's really doing it, right? So nobody's really doing this whole thing right now. Like I haven't seen anybody do this in the way that we're doing it, to be honest, and combining that with a lot of other stuff on the back end of it. And I'll show you why this works as well. So what I've come up with is that two basic kinds of content. There's growth value content, in which you make something relatable, make something that's valuable, but which is more shorter and more action-packed and more sort of engageable and shareable, right? And that usually gets a lot of traction. This, as you can see, got 1.7 million views. This was for me with an account with 180 followers or something like that. The next option is, or the next sort of thing that we do with this is educational / trust building content. So this is something that we made for Serge Guattari with a voiceover in his own voice while he spends zero time and effort on it. So this is just posted right now. He's not posted it on his channel right now publicly because we're just waiting to first to launch the second sort of webinar that he has, and we're going to be working on something with that. But essentially, imagine this. You have a piece of content that generates a lot of attention, and a system that takes that attention, converts that, filters those people, brings you hyper-qualified leads. And all of that is done through the attention that was brought about by a content piece that you never spent any time on making, that has your own voice and that you have nothing to do with. So you can just be like, again, as I mentioned, like sipping coffee, sleeping, doing whatever. And that piece of content is bringing you hyper-qualified leads and you spent absolutely zero time and effort on it. Now, how this works is we place text on screen conversion-based CTAs as well. So with some of these pieces of content, we place like a CTA, which you might have seen. It says like comment certain keyword to get started, or comment so and so to get started. And basically, that leads to people commenting. So this is what we did with Justin Lalonde. And as you can see, all of these guys commented. These might just seem comments, but these guys are warm leads. These guys are people who interacted with the piece of content. So how a normal funnel works, right? You have something that generates attention. You have a lead magnet that you give them, and then they interact with the lead magnet to make sure to give you permission to interact with them, to send that over. And then you send it over, and that's when you build the trust, and that's when you actually try to convert them. Essentially, all of this is happening right over here. They're commenting, they're giving you permission to actually send them whatever lead magnet it is. So they're already opting in. This is the opt-in, essentially. And what this leads to, all of these people are leads. So if you get like 500 comments, 500 people are leads that you just got from a piece of content that you spent absolutely zero time on. And that goes into the DM automation funnel sequences. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this, guys, if you can see this clearly, but this is one of the many chat automation that we made for one of our clients. But this basically does all of the lead mechanism, lead magnet delivery, the lead filtering, as well as the selling, part of the selling. So basically, whenever the first point you actually need human intervention is when the lead is already hyper warm. That's when you actually need it. I'm gonna get to more of that as well soon. But basically, this is what you use to then communicate with the leads, deliver the lead magnet, and then kind of funnel them down the trust building portion as well as the qualification process. And that's also done with the least barrier to entry. So as you can see, they get messages like this. So they just DM you a certain keyword, or they comment. This was one of the DM ones, but I'm just trying to show you how the message follow-up works. They just basically tap on buttons, right? It's the least barrier to entry for them as well. And if you look at the psychology of somebody who's scrolling social media, they don't want to spend so much time away from the app. They're using the app for a reason, right? And if you just send them quick messages like this, would just require a single tap or something really small, or the least action that they can possibly do to actually get the value from it, then they'll actually interact with it. And that's why this funnel is really good. And all of the people that comment are essentially warm leads, as I already mentioned. And they're already getting the lead magnet that you're sending them. So you already have a lead magnet that we, again, like when the clients that we work with, we help them set up the lead magnet as well. And this whole process actually. And the advantages that a lead magnet funnel would either way have, which is they opt in, they get the lead magnet and that whole thing. You still have all of that with this, but you also have this, not really but the main thing that you actually have over that is that you have this source of connecting with them again, talking to them through the DMs and building that brand value up on your social media profiles. Because how useful it is actually basically just determined and based on these three things: how easily we can contact them, how many ways can we contact them through, and how much information we have about them to filter them. And this funnel does great in all three areas, because we can just, the ease of contact is extremely high, because you can just contact them in the DMs and they DM'd you first too. So it just sets the precedent of the conversation. It's a psychological thing as well, that, oh, they message you, even though if it's just a keyword, they message you first and then you carry in the conversation forward. How many ways can you contact them through? You can contact them through the DMs, you can reply to their comments, and when they actually opt into the lead magnet, you will anyways have the information that you want to use to contact them again in your CRM, with their email sequences, with the phone numbers, if that's what your offer is like. And you actually don't even need them to opt in, because the way we set up the ManyChat sequences as well is they can just message their email or phone number within that, and that will be stored in your CRM itself. So you can just be like, oh bro, can you just send me your email so that this message does not get lost, and they just send you your email and that goes into your CRM and gets saved as their email. So they don't even need to opt in. So the amount of ways that you can contact them through is also increased straight away in the DMs. And how much information you have about them, I mean, that also, because you're essentially having a conversation in the DMs, and it's much easier to get information about a person, about a lead, through a conversation rather than a random form on an opt-in website. And you can actually dive deeper into their intentions and qualify them for your business. So that's why this works, man. That's why this works really, really well. Now, why does this work? I mean, for this, we just have to understand how humans work, essentially. Just like a quick brief, I'm not going to go deep on human stuff before, but basically we are visual first. Hence, so are social media platforms. So visual first, I mean, the quickest way to gauge anything is visually. That is why we see things first, to gauge or understand them before hearing something or diving deeper into them. We are looking for the quickest cues to understand and process information. So if you see something, you don't dive deeper until you just fully process the image first, because that's the quickest way of processing information, understanding, and gauging what certain thing is. With these extensively visual platforms, where TikTok dances are a perfect example of that. But when you actually have an end goal in mind, you have to look beyond that. But a perfect example of something that's fully visual and gets a lot of attention is like TikTok dance, right? You don't need to think about anything beyond the dance itself. Like what you're seeing is what you're seeing. But when you actually have an end goal in mind, you need to provide value, and it has to be a balance between the two, which is where this format of content comes in. Because over here, you have a perfect balance between the visuals and the value. The visuals make the audience understand the perceived value to tell them that they're in safe hands. Because let's be honest, like if anybody's scrolling on social media, their intent is not just to keep on scrolling. They actually want to see something. They're actually looking for that next hit of dopamine. They're actually looking for that next value that they can find in a piece of content. And they're actually betting on you every time they see or they scroll a reel. But they've gotten so used to, and they've been bombarded with such a surplus of supply of content that they can just scroll away. So they're actually looking for the quickest cues to continue watching that video. And you might be able to provide a lot of value, but they need to be able to receive or want to receive that value first. And how that happens is you basically need to communicate that they are essentially in safe hands by watching the next 15-20 seconds of your video, as opposed to just scrolling away as quickly as possible. And how it's done, as we've learned, is visually, because visuals are the quickest way to process information. So with this format, we're communicating that instantly visually, and we're also able to provide the value. So we have what the TikTok dancers have by communicating visually that, what's this video going to be about, and that's why they actually watch it. And the value is also there because you have an end goal in mind, and you fulfill on that promise and actually provide value to build the trust up, right? So that's essentially how this works, right? They want to see a certain kind of video, but they want to know that they'll get value from it. And the visuals that you provide, as well as with the animations, it combines storytelling elements as well. There's always the promised payoff at the end. Like they can just see from the first second that it'll be about something, that they'll get something about it from it, because of the visuals that they see. And if they see that perceived value, that's only when they're going to actually consume the value. Your video may be the most valuable, but if you do not communicate in the fastest way possible that it is going to be valuable, which as we know is done visually, then they're not going to see it. So basically why this works is because the barrier to entry for each touch point of the marketing and sales process is the lowest, both internally and externally. As I said, people actually want to stop scrolling and watch something to gain value from it. They just want to know that they are in safe hands in the quickest way possible, and then to actually get the value to build the trust with you. So that sums it up, right? So yeah, what I said about the barriers to entry, the barriers to entry need to be the lowest. So if you look at it from a funnel standpoint, right, this is the whole funnel. You have the attention generation, you have the trust building, you have the conversion, right? So people who are scrolling see a video that grabs their attention visually. So that's the lowest barrier to entry to actually grab attention. It's visuals. It's always visuals. They can see a promise payoff at the end of it, the way it is made with the storytelling aspect. So with these animations, they're made in a certain way that promises a payoff at the end, which makes them want to watch all of it. The transfer of value is also done with the least barriers to entry as it is done visually. So instead of you just saying something that, oh, this is how this works, this is what happens, this whatever, right? You're actually just showing it. So that's how you're actually transferring value from your mind, from your knowledge to the audience. And that's done in the quickest possible way with the least barrier to entry when it's done visually. They get the payoff in the end, and since the video communicates an idea in a very short and easy to understand way, it is very shareable and engageable. With videos that are more education-based and are slightly longer, we add the voice over to explain the concepts as well. So that's what we did with Surge. We made like a 30 to 45 second video, because I think it was like a 45 second video, because it was explaining a concept that he needed to talk about, that he needed to explain. So we wrote a full script with it. We added the visuals and just really simple voiceover in his voice that, again, he spent zero time on. And that actually educated the people to explain the concepts. And the trust building. Now, to convert them from a viewer to a lead, all they have to do is simply comment a keyword to get a certain lead magnet, which we also have set up. They get the lead magnet, which builds the trust and converts them itself. But once they're in the DMs, the ManyChat sequence that is set up to follow up with them further builds up the trust and qualifies them for the main offer. The barrier to entry on this will be far lesser than any sort of link in bio, click here, do this, do that sort of funnel. It is all integrated in one place. So it's just all in one place. The barrier to entry for them to watch the content was the lowest, to actually generate the attention was the lowest. Now to actually interact with it and convert from a viewer to a lead is also the lowest, because they just need to comment a certain keyword. So if you look at it from a viewer's perspective, they're not looking to become a lead. They don't want to opt in. They just so happen to see something, and they see something of value, and then they opt in. It's not like your offer is the world for them, because they don't know about it right now. It might be once they know about it, but you need the least barrier to entry before all these steps, and that's what will actually sell the value that you have, or be able to communicate the value that you have. And that's why this funnel works so well, because the barrier to entry at each point is the lowest. Now for the conversion. Based on the kind of offer it is, the conversion mechanism will either be to pitch them a product, service, or a call to consult further through the DM. Since trust has already been built, this will be really easy. Note, we also still have all of the other sources and touch points that we have through a normal lead magnet funnel that we already talked about. So you already have the email sequence, you already have the follow-up stuff, you already have all of that, but you also have this source in which the barrier to entry is the lowest, and probably all of your conversions will be, 90% of them will be through the DMs themselves. Another way that I use to actually further decrease the barrier to entry to actually convert them is, what I do is, if a prospect is interested, I just be like, oh, bro, like, let's just hop on a quick call in however much time you're free. I'll just call you on Instagram. Let's just do like a 5-10 minute call. And instead of booking like a full discovery call on Calendly and having them set up the event and that whole thing and going to an external browser, I just set up that call on Instagram itself, and I just, pencil in time and I call them, because with that, they don't need to do anything. It's very casual. It's very low barrier to entry. They're just there. And essentially in a discovery call, you don't need much more than that. You just need to know their goals. You just need to know what their whole vision with their thing is, and you just need to know if you can actually even help them. And then you book in a further call, in which you can go into details, and that can be a proper call on Google Meet. But you're actually going to that slowly, right? You're not just straight away moving to that. You're going to that slowly, and you're stepping up to that. So that is why this works so well, because the conversion is also the lowest barrier to entry. It happens in the DMs, and then you actually book it a sales call depending on your offer. But the real magic lies on the internal side. There's basically zero time and effort or human intervention up and until the lead is already hyper qualified with lots of trust built up. So starting from the actual creation of content, that too in your voice if it's needed, the visuals of that content, the lead generation through that content, the trust building part, the lead filtering process is all done on autopilot through the attention generated by a piece of content that you spend absolutely zero time and effort on, while also making sure that the efficiency and barrier to entry externally is the best it can be as well from the clients or from the prospect's point of view. So an increase in results massively with zero time plus effort is equal to infinite returns. And that's what you can get with this whole sort of system if you place it for you, for your own self. And I already told you guys how you can do it for your own self by working on those animations and that whole setup. But how can you actually implement this, and how can you actually get me and my team to actually implement this? So what I'm doing is, this is a new offer that we started. Essentially, we already have a couple of people we're working on who are getting like absolutely amazing results. They're seeing growth that they've never had, even 10x the growth that they previously had, both on the social media point of view as well as the lead generation point of view. But since this is a new offer, I'm going to be doing a beta group of 5 to 10 people. I think I'll cap it at 5 people, in which I'm going to be doing a sample of these with attention generating content that generates the attention that we're going to be making for them, and the whole follow-up sequence, the whole many chat thing, done absolutely for free as a follow-up, as a trial, as a sample. And yeah, we're just going to be doing that. But the thing is, you obviously need to be qualified to work with us in the future. This is obviously a part of the sales mechanism that I have, but you also get massive value from it. So, I mean, worst case is you get pieces of content that generate massive attention. You get the follow-up sequence, you convert them, that you can use for lifetime. And the best case is that we can work while implementing that in the future for the foreseeable future, and we can implement that. But yeah, I'm placing that whole thing for free as one sample thing, the whole system with a few pieces of content to generate attention into that system as well. Absolutely for free for 5 people right now. We're going to be doing that beta group. We're going to be testing various strategies and kind of getting you quick results and getting you the quickest results possible so that I can also use that as social proof for me. I'm already doing that with my clients, and I can kind of build up and try that out on different sort of verticals. But to apply for this, you obviously have to be qualified. So you have to be at least making 5 to 10K online through your business. So if you think that is you, and if you think that you can benefit from this, then just book in a call below, fill out the details and just book in the call. And we can talk to you and we can figure out what we can do. And that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.